Hello everyone and welcome to another Starcraft 2 replay, and this one's going to be a TvZ on Shakuris Plateau, and I'm going to be demoing my new build. It's actually still Mass Ravens, but the opener is completely different, and once again I'm pretty sure it's something no one does, where I'm going to be taking 4 bases with basically no units. And yeah, I'm not talking about it like a pansy in-base orbital command, like and counting that as a base. No, I'm actually going to be taking like 4 full-on expansions with no units. So it slows down everything else. My Ravens are going to be very light, but I think I can do it safely. And then obviously my gas income's going to be off the hook for quite a while, so I can go straight up to like 5 or 6 starports and be pumping Ravens all game long. So we're not going to concentrate too much on what the Zerg's doing. In fact, I think this was a random opponent, so he wasn't the best Zerg player, even though he's Masters League. Random opponents, it's hard to learn 3 races. But let's be going to my build order. So it's going to open the same as I normally do. So supply depot. At the same time you build that depot, you send out your SCV scout to find the Zerg base. In this case, I'm finding out what race he is. But once I notice a creep there, I don't have to build that barracks anymore, so I send it back. And we're going to engineer bay block. Boom, and then just constant SCV production until we can build our command center. Just dancing this guy as much as I can, popping him on and off when he's getting harassed. Once he hits about 10 hit points, so you want to run home. You'll probably get hit on the way out. You don't want to lose the SCV once it has 5 hit points. So command center on 16, and then gas as soon as you can afford it. And this is where we changes. Since we're building so many command centers, we need so many minerals. We never take a second gas. We're going to be relying on this one gas production for a good portion of the game. Barracks and then engineering bay. I'm getting harassed here, which is a little annoying. It does slow down my command center timing a bit. However, since we're only on one gas, we can't turn this into a PF immediately anyways. If I knew it was a Zerg, I might have walled off low ground. This is one of the few maps where walling off low ground is actually very safe, since the fortress is so close to that barracks, where the barracks position is. And I lost track of what I was doing here. 4:30. Yeah, so after the barracks and engineering bay, you want to build a command center, like over on this corner of your base, as soon as you can afford it. So you can see I'm already quite late. I had about 570 minerals, I think, when I threw that down. I want to make an SCV out of this command center, since you don't have the gas right off the bat, and then turn it into a PF. Which is what I did. If he floods with tons of Zerglings, you may want to lift off this command center until you have the gas for a PF. And then hope that he gives you the position, you put it back down. But no one typically opens tons and tons of Zerglings. And if they did, you still have 3 command centers, which puts you really far ahead. Next set of gas you want to spend on high-sec auto tracking. I should have already done that. I haven't yet. As soon as you can afford it, get your 4th command center. You want to bring this command center, say, over to like here. And then you do the feint push at this exact timing. This is key to do these 2 things at the same time. Feint push as you expand. So what we want to do is clear this tower with a feint push. Land the command center immediately. Hope it's already landed, actually, and turn into a PF. In fact, maybe you should wait for high-sec auto tracking. If I did everything quickly, I may not have had the 150 gas available. So maybe second PF first, then start your high-sec. And then you head back. And remember, I'm hoping this forces him to make tons of Zerglings. So if this works out well and he makes tons of Zerglings, all of a sudden he'll probably come aggressively at me once he knows I'm not actually pushing him. And then you want this to be a PF, right? So if you get here too late, you won't be able to get into a PF in time against like 16 lings. So get it landed as you're clearing this tower, so he doesn't see it. And then turn into a PF, and then now we're up to 3 bases. Bunk on the low ground right after this barracks is done, I guess. Or right as soon as you've transferred SCVs to the low ground, I should say. I'm transferring some workers over to my 3rd base here. Once the 4th base finishes, load up with like 5 SCVs, or you can like hop back here and bring another 5. You can do 10 or 5. I used to always do 10, but since all these bases are pretty sparse on SCVs, it probably doesn't matter too much if you do just 5. But in other scenarios, I like to bring 10. And this is where my macro failed a lot because I had so much money built up. But as soon as you build this next command center, your next set of minerals is you want to start the turret ring. So I like to put like a couple turrets here. And the idea of this turret ring is if you look on the mini map, like this, with my follow my cursor, this doing a turret ring like this covers basically all 4 of your bases. The way of putting it is if you put turrets at all your expos, it should cover your main base because that's one of the unique qualities of this map. One, it has this 4th base, which is really safe to take. Obviously, I can only do this on Shakuras. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but this build order is specific to TvZ on Shakuras Plateau. So yeah, digress. Yeah, so after you build the 4th command center, start on that turret ring. I guess you can start up over here where you already have a base. I like the 2 high ground ones and then add 2 in the low ground later. He can fly by the bottom here, so if you ever, as soon as you spot mutas, I say you should get like missile turrets over here, just in case. But until you spot mutas, I think this is enough of a buffer. He's probably going to go at your expansions, not your main. And this is probably enough to keep him from trying to pass below. Probably. Is the key word there. And then as soon as you can afford all those turrets, right after that you want to go straight from 1 gas up to 8 gas. All this stuff is very delayed for me because I have all this money banked. And then once you can afford all those investment geysers, this is when you throw down your factory. And then when the factory's done, you want to go straight to, I would say, at least 5 starports, maybe 6. 5 or 6. I'm still kind of playing with this build, what's ideal. But you definitely don't want to do 4 just because even though you don't have the giant gas bank you normally do of like 1700, your gas income is double what it normally is because you're on 8 gas instead of 4. So it's not going to 5. Also, when high sec auto tracking's done, you want to get structure armor immediately. I didn't do that. That'll actually probably come before the factory. And it's in case of things something like this. If he does the Mutalisks, you're heavily reliant on these missile turrets keeping you alive. So the range is nice. It means these turrets cover each other better and keep like mutas like far back if they're like tentative. But if the mutas come charging in, that's when you want the structure armor as well. The bounce doesn't really matter with Mutalisks when you're talking about missile turrets, but the main attack will get reduced from 9 down to 7 if you have the +2 armor, which is huge. I mean, that's over 20% decrease. That could be the difference between whether you can repair a turret before it can get killed by mutas or not. Or at least you can keep the turret alive for a lot longer with repair, cutting into the muta numbers so you can continue on. Remember with this build, you're not going to have that early Viking. Usually that early Viking is like, I usually clear overlords on the map, but it also usually gives me a spotter for when the mutas are coming, because he'll usually kill the Viking first. So these will just arrive at your base without you knowing, unless you do scouting, which I don't. So as soon as you spot it, you gotta throw down more missile turrets. I threw down this one here when I spotted it, this one here, these 2 I talked about in case he tries to scoot along the bottom. Probably an extra one on this edge of the base would have made sense. Although the fact that we both spawn at the south is unlikely. He'll fly all the way around like this and try to come in. And yeah, from this point forward, it's just like I'm normal Mass Raven build. Get these tech labs on, do your Raven upgrades, Raven energy for sure, Seeker missile soon afterwards. You can probably do them both right at the start. And then just spend all your extra minerals on Marines and lots of command centers. I like to build command centers 3 at a time. And as soon as I lift them off and float them somewhere, I build 3 more immediately. That's one thing I've been doing recently that I find has really helped my TvZ game. Like all of a sudden my TvZ has gone from like just under 50% to recently being like at 70%. My MMR is a little bit lower, I think, these days. Still. So here I'm not actually repairing. This is where not having structure armor hurts me. You can see in the production tab my structure armor is like only 2/3 done. So that would have made a big difference. If I actually were repairing and had structure armor, there's no way we would have been able to cut into the space with 5 turrets. And he only has, maybe he had 1 more muta that I killed, so he'd only have 13 mutas. Or if he did cut in, he would have like nothing left over. he takes out that turret, I have to pull back. Putting out some missile turrets that are covered by the existing ones. He's poking away at this fortress, so I unfortunately have to use my initial ravens. I only brought them in one at a time though. I wonder if he actually thought it was just one high energy raven. Even though you're starting your actual army so late, like, and that's definitely a deficit for you with this build. The good part is, like, all of his early scouting is going to give him like nothing for information. If he's like sacrificing overlords, getting changelings in here, overseers, like he's not going to see anything unless he comes in after 13-minute mark or after the 12-minute mark. I think 12 minutes is typically the time these starports should be done. This game it was more like 13:30, but that's because I had so much minerals banked that I wasn't spending time in the game. You can also see I hit 4 base before this guy. That's probably because he was a random opponent. It was not that great at Zerg. But typically you should be, like, when you hit your 4 base Zerg, you should be a little bit ahead, I think. And being even equal in bases with Zerg is awesome, so being a little bit ahead is good. You won't have any really fast ravens to try to pressure him early and keep him on tier 2, so you will probably be facing tier 3 with this. But again, you're solidifying 4 bases really fast, and your mass raven force will be ridiculously big. Suicide Marines. I guess I just wanted to take the towers, but that didn't turn out so well. But it also draws this whole army out here, which means I can go back in with these ravens. And I think my target, yeah, is the ramp. Fortunately, I do get the pump on the way there, so I don't get the wall off on the ramp I wanted. But it's still a pretty good setup. He does get a nice chain pump on these guys here, but you can't actually get in. His links aren't upgraded well. Well, actually, they're 2-1. They're upgraded fairly well. But when you got them all clustered on the ramp, auto turrets do quite well against it. Oh, one raven actually lived. Oh, that's where that raven came from. I remember late in the game, I found this raven like sitting here in his base with full energy. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Let me use that. Of course, Emulus denied my 5th base, but this is where my throwaway unupgraded or unmicroed Zerg Marines killed his unmicroed Mutalisks. I guess to the point where Zergs are almost happy to lose Mutalisks, there's no reason to lie. I came over here to intercept the. I saw all these infested Terrans going down here, so I'm like, oh, I can just catch him on his retreat path and Seeker the hell out of all that stuff. I forgot to actually upgrade Seeker Missile, so instead I just got caught in Chain Fungals. I'm not sure if he has enough to complete these Chain Fungals. He didn't use a lot of energy, but yeah, so he wasn't able to complete it. Oh well. I did still lost a couple ravens, stupidly. I did get auto turrets in these high ground positions, so I love that, because typically Zerg has nothing they can do about that stuff. So, you know, if you take this base, you can throw like a couple auto turrets on the high ground, and they'll help defend during that time. I'd also suggest getting the duration upgrade. Which one is it? This one here, Durable Materials. Gives an extra full minute to the auto turrets, which doesn't really help offensive auto turrets. Like, these ones are going to do whatever they're going to do in the first 3 minutes anyways. But for defensive turrets, or positional turrets like this, it's quite nice. But we'll just finish this game at 2x speed. It's more or less over, I think. In the beginning, we never made tier 3 at the start, and I hit 4 bases long before he did. So even though I'm losing all these ravens, I'm not paying attention. It doesn't matter. I like this game, so more time to go. I have to do a lot of double saves like that one right there. Still producing command centers like a boss. And it looks like we're just going to base trade our way to the end of the game, which is probably going to favor me. Continuing up these ravens, gotta be a little bit careful because all of them have like 5 hit points. 5, 6, 34, 16. Yeah, a lot of them are one shot from dead from like the spore column, so it'll be a little better. Again, more command centers. Throw on the middle of the map for some reason. 2 more to take the 12 o'clock. Oh my god, I stimmed. It's one of the first time I researched stimmed and used it. Irresistibly. Hitting his 12 o'clock base, actually hitting his attempt right on all his tacky rebuild. Probably a good thing I'm canceling this upgrade on him. Okay, I don't think it's gonna finish. Maybe it will. No, it won't. He's not gonna be building any roaches anyways. Oh, I guess he does have roaches. Never mind. He's playing across the map, and I'm like reading this, so he's gonna be hitting those bases. I like how he throws the Vested Terrans around the PF, so I can't actually repair. There actually is a trick you can do to be able to repair. Where you let me think. You'd have to get minerals or gas in all your units. So Cummins, you'd have to grab all these SCVs. I guess what you do is you right click them on a mineral patch and then shift click them over here. So they'll, or shift click them say here or something like that. So that way they'll all grab minerals and then move over here with minerals in their hand. And then you would go hit the return cargo button and shift repair on the command center. And I think that would work. So that way, like when they're returning the cargo, they walk through units. So they'll walk through units right up to here, and then they'll try to start repairing the command center, which will actually, I think, will push the invested Terrans out of the way. But it doesn't really matter. I'm just base trading. You can do it every once over there. I'm cutting this third component down to 0 base. No, still 1 base left. Some bases left actually. Actually, I have double PFs up here at 12 o'clock. That'll be safe for a long time with the rocks and double PF. Finally realized I had a whole shit ton of Marines that I wasn't using. Like, when I maxed out and have no Ravens. So that's gonna kill these final 2 bases, and this base is gone, and this base is gone. And he comes over here, but finally I'm actually gonna my defense gets some repair going. My backup Ravens are in here, and I think that actually that defense would have held. But again, this is mostly about the build order. This is going to 4 base before you make any units, basically. So opener is very typical, engineering, well, typical for me, engineering bay block, 16 command center, but only 1 gas, and then you go barracks and engineering bay. That earlier barracks actually means you can turn this into orbital while you're sitting at 19-19, because this is your next supply depot, this second depot. Next command center as soon as you can do it. Just slow this down. Next command center. Make one SCV from this command center, then turn into a PF. You'll still probably want to float to the low ground and build a bunker, or build a bunker in the low ground when you transfer your SCVs. As soon as you can afford it, make your next barracks. You want to start high sec auto tracking somewhere here too. No, sorry, you don't. You want to push out with the Marine SCV push when this command center is complete, and then take this expansion at the same time you're clearing the tower. Turn that into a PF, and then you should be very close to having 100 gas to start this high sec auto tracking. If you're fast. If you weren't fast, then you can do high sec auto tracking first. And with this command center, you want to float over, take 5 or 10 Marines, 5 or 10 SCVs with you, whatever your preference is. Probably 10 would be better, I guess. Turret ring you should be doing during that time. Like as soon as you build this command center, you start your turret ring. As soon as you got your turret ring done, you should throw down all 8 gases. When you got your 8 gases down, then you start your factory. And then straight into 5 or 6 starport. And from there, it's just like my regular mass Raven build. Waste your minerals on Marines and tons of command centers. And then, you know, just pump out as many Ravens as you can. For the downsides of this build, first of all, this first command center is not going to turn into a PF as fast as normal. So normally, when this command center finishes, I have the 150 gas to turn into a PF. And you can see with this build, It's even delayed a touch, and even still, when it's complete, I'm at 124. So you're probably going to be at like 110 gas. So you have maybe 20-25 seconds you have to wait. Which means if for some reason he decided to just make tons and tons of lings and send them at you, normally I can turn this into PF and just pull SCVs down to like distract and to repair, and it'll turn into a PF in time. In this case, it won't. So I think if he shows up here, if he's got like 8 lings on your command center before you've even started the PF upgrade, just lift it off. Once you have the 150 gas available to turn into a PF, if he's not blocking the landing, just land it. If he's not, you're still probably okay. Just like, I don't know, just kind of wing it, take another base. You're still like got 3 fast command centers versus a Zerg who went tons of lings at the start. So, you know, obviously you'll probably want to like fortify this ramp. Like maybe get a bunker here and then a couple structures here to prevent this from being the weak point in a bailing bust. As long as you don't die to like some one base aggression, you'll still be miles ahead. So this is a late PF. What else for downsides? Fast mutas, I think you're still fine. The fastest mutas possible, like fast 2-base mutas, are coming at 9:30, but typically you're looking at 10:30 to 12 minutes for a muta build that's economy based. You see, as soon as I start this command center, I should be starting my turret ring. I got 800 in the bank, so I could easily have like, you know, turret, like no problem. And then as soon as I move this command center over, I can, like right now, I can go and build the remaining turrets, turret. So I can have all the turrets done by, basically by 9:30 if you're quick. You're not going to have a lot of, like, I'd say I've spent in my giant gas bank of like 1500, which happens with my standard 2-base opener for this build, by say like 13-14 minutes. And you can see I would have barely started my Raven production by 13-14 minutes. Given that I was macroing poorly, I could have had all this down quicker, but I'd say probably around now is the time the Elvis started my Raven production. Which means, first of all, there's no early knowledge of these Mutalisks, because often, you know, I'd have that first starboard down really fast, and I began the energy upgrade at the same time making a Viking, and I send the Viking on the map to, you know, clear this Overlord and this Overlord, and then I just kind of send it around the map on his side, just kind of looking for Overlords. And usually his Mutalisks will hit that Viking first, and that gives you the heads up, like, hey, there's Mutalisks on the way, I need to throw down more turrets. And even though you have a ridiculous amount of turrets, I guess I already knew about the Mutalisks. I mean, let me back up a touch. When did they actually arrive? Right here. So even though I got like 10 turrets, I actually forgot one here, 11 turrets. As soon as you know there's mutas, you want to build more, because even though most Terrans will survive on like 1 to 2 turrets versus Mutalisks, I don't have Thor's like almost done, or I don't have like stimmed bio like with Medivacs available right now. I have nothing but turrets for defense, so I just need lots of them. As soon as you know they're coming, you probably want to double up another turret here. Again, next one for this base, maybe here. Maybe here and here, in case he tries to swing underneath the space, which he can. He can even swing underneath here, I think. Maybe with range upgrade, this one can still hit. But that's okay. Like the odds of him trying to get into like to attack this position with Mutalisk is very low. He probably wants to, you know, either attack at your ramp or attack one of these bases. Double up over here. If he is going to come in though, it's usually along the edge of the map. So I like to double up on the edges. But basically you're fine. You just won't have any advance warning to Mutalisks. You're not going to know that he has them until he hits one of your bases. Unless you do extra scouting that I don't, which I don't really scout at all. I'm not sure how you can guarantee to find a Spire though. Yeah, Yes, what else? So you have no early Viking, and then of course your entire Raven force is just going to come out a lot later. So where normally I would have had like a $1,500–$1,700 gas bank and have spent through it by like 13 minutes. In this case, my gas bank is going to be smaller. My Ravens are going to come out later, but the advantage is I'm on 4 base instead of 2, so my gas income is actually double what it normally is. That's why I go up to 5 or 6 starport, just because I have more gas coming in. Also, I want to get Ravens out faster, like 5 at a time rather than 3 or 4 at a time. I can have them out at 5 or 6 at a time. It helps late game too if he decides to do a Broodlord switch. You can pump up Vikings a lot quicker with this many starports. And yeah, it probably means like this Zerg is obviously very slow. He's just taking his third, but typically I'd say a Zerg will be like fairly equal to you in bases, especially if he scouted this stuff. He'll be more incentive for him to expand quicker. So the advantage is you're both on 4 base rather than him being a base or 2 ahead. The downside is your Raven Force is going to be late, which means you're not going to put on a lot of mid-game aggression, which means it's going to be harder to delay as tier 3. So you expect with this build you're going to be facing Ultras and Broodlords a lot more often, or at least a ton of Infestors a lot more often. But the upside is you're going to have a ridiculous amount of Ravens. Yeah, those are all the differences I can think of from my standard Master Raven build. From this point forward, it's all basically the same. Pump Ravens from your starports. Make sure you have the structure and high sec auto tracking. Make sure you click on all these Vespian geysers and make sure they all got 3 in them. And yeah, spend all your extra minerals on expanding like a crap ton, like tons and tons of command centers. I think 3 at a time. I probably haven't been doing this in my videos of late. It's something I've been doing very recently, but building command centers 3 at a time is awesome. I just find it almost guarantees I have tons of bases all the time. And then when a base goes down, I immediately have more command centers I can put right there to take it back again. And I think if you can, always build a command center. Like always be one of those command centers you're always building and rebuilding in your base. Do one like near the ramp. That way, if some sort of emergency crap where he's like breaking in with like everything he owns and bailing bombs this fortress and stuff, you have a command center probably here, like done or almost done, which you can turn into a PFS for emergency defense. And yeah, I've been battling for a long time after this game ended, so let's just end this video here. This is my new 4 command centers before, or 4 bases before anything sort of build. And yeah, I've had pretty good success with this so far. I like it a lot. And I love reaching like Raven counts of 30, 40 and maxing out, which is stuff that normally doesn't happen in my TvZ games. So yeah, thank you everyone. Check the description, there'll be a thumbs up link there, and goodbye.